Have you ever felt like you have everything you're supposed to want, but still feel made poor? Not in your bank account, but deep in your soul. Let me tell you about Alex. Alex was a 30-year-old financial analyst in New York. He had it all: the six-figure salary, the Brooklyn apartment, the BMW. He was the poster child for the American dream. But with every stock market update, with every scroll through articles about young millionaires in the Hamptons, a crushing weight settled on his shoulders. He was suffocating. His expensive shirt and silk tie felt like a noose. One day, after a particularly brutal meeting about unrealistic growth metrics, Alex felt a profound emptiness. He was chasing a finish line that kept moving further away. If only I could get one more promotion, one more property, he'd tell himself. It was a toxic loop. He had everything society told him was success, yet he felt destitute, starved for time and peace of mind. Feeling drained, he decided to take a shortcut home through an old weathered neighborhood. He walked past worn-down brick buildings, feeling a mix of pity for the material poverty and a strange shame. He knew the weight in his own heart felt heavier than any of their debts. As he entered an old subway station, the scent of stale coffee, damp earth, and fresh daisies hit him. It was a world away from his office's sterile perfume. There, at a small kiosk, was Eleanor. She was an elderly Italian woman, over 70, her back hunched but her old cardigan always neat. She was carefully arranging bouquets, her calloused hands moving with a gentle rhythm. Suddenly, a luxury SUV screeched to a halt. A glamorous young woman stepped out, holding a wilted bouquet. "Hey, old woman," she snapped, her tone dripping with disdain. "I bought these from you yesterday and they're already dead. You scammed me. I want a new bouquet now." Eleanor calmly took the flowers, inspecting them with a small magnifying glass. "Ah, ma'am," she said in her warm, broken English, "these are carnations. They only last one day. I remember you left them in the sun yesterday afternoon." "Ridiculous! Scam artist!" the woman shrieked, throwing the dead flowers onto the ground. She got back in her car and sped off, leaving a cloud of exhaust and shattered petals behind. Alex stood frozen, watching. His blood boiled. He thought, how can she just let that go? That was public humiliation. But Elena's reaction left him speechless. She didn't frown, she didn't sigh. She simply bent down and, with her frail hands, picked up every single withered petal, placing them respectfully in a compost bin. It was as if she was honoring her own labor, not just the discarded flowers. Then she looked up and saw Alex. A radiant, peaceful smile bloomed on her wrinkled face. It wasn't forced or resigned. It was pure serenity. "Alex, you're later than usual today, aren't you?" she asked, her voice soft and warm. "Would you buy a little rose for good luck, dear?" Her voice held no trace of the incident, only gratitude. Alex was stunned. Her smile wasn't about giving up. It was about acceptance. It was contentment with the present moment. He realized she was grateful just to be there, to have the strength to work, to earn an honest living. "Yes, ma'am," he replied, his own voice softening. "A white rose, please." He wanted to give her extra money, to compensate for the injustice, but he stopped. He understood that the greatest respect he could give her was to treat her as a valuable worker, not an object of pity. As Alex continued on his way, a sudden autumn shower began to fall. He ducked under the awning of a makeshift garage. Inside was Carlos, a mechanic, his hands stained with engine oil. The rain had interrupted his work, but instead of being annoyed, Carlos stretched out his hands to catch the raindrops. "Perfect. The rain has come," he said cheerfully. "The air is much cleaner, no?" He turned on an old radio, and vibrant Latin music filled the small space. "I finished oil changes on 4 bikes today. That's enough for a delicious pot of chili tonight. Now, listening to music and watching the rain is better than pushing for more work." Alex stood in silence, his mind still racing. "It's raining. Uber prices will surge. I have a report due tomorrow." How could Carlos be so easily satisfied? 4 oil changes. That was a fraction of what Alex charged for an hour of his time. "Why so quiet, Alex?" Carlos asked, his eyes friendly. Alex confessed, "I'm stressed about work, financial pressure. I need a bigger house, more investments. I can't stop." Carlos let out a hearty, unburdened laugh. "Financial pressure, huh? You know, Pressure isn't about how much you make, but how much you want. I fix bikes. When I have enough for a good dinner with my family, I stop. I've defined my enough. What about you? Will a bigger house make you happier or just make you work another 5 years? I have a friend on Wall Street, always chasing financial freedom, but he never rests. He's a prisoner to his portfolio. I don't have financial freedom, but I have time freedom, spiritual freedom. My biggest pressure is just not tightening a bolt enough for a customer. Carlos's words hit Alex like a hammer. He looked at the mechanic's rough, oily hands that earned a simple living, but were free to tap a rhythm on an oil drum to the sound of music. When the rain stopped, Alex thanked Carlos and walked on. Behind the garage, under the warm glow of a single light bulb, he saw a beautiful scene. Eleanor, Carlos, and their families were gathered around a picnic table, sharing a simple meal. A big pot of steaming chili, some tortillas, a pitcher of water. But it was their laughter that stopped Alex in his tracks. It was bright, carefree, and genuine. They weren't discussing stock prices or inflation. They were talking about baseball, a grandchild's community college, and a weekend fishing trip. They had a connection, a warmth, a community that Alex, with all his wealth, felt he could never buy. His own dinners were lonely, eaten in front of a computer, or were tense networking events. He could afford the most expensive steak, but he couldn't afford the radiant eyes and genuine laughter he saw before him. They lacked money, but they were astonishingly rich in inner peace. Elena's smile, Carlos's music, their shared joy, it all came from a simple truth. They had accepted their enough. They weren't defining their worth by their assets. Alex stood there for a long time, the rain-washed streets mirroring the cleansing of his own soul. He realized the burden he carried wasn't debt or work. It was the bottomless pit of wanting more. The chase for more had robbed him of the ability to enjoy what is. The next morning, Alex woke up a different man. He walked through the old neighborhood, not with pity but with profound respect. He stopped at Elena's kiosk for a coffee and a chat. He saw Carlos humming a new tune. For the first time in what felt like forever, Alex deliberately left his phone, the symbol of his constant anxiety, in his pocket. And then he smiled. A real smile. It came from a deep, newfound understanding that he had enough. He was enough. Alex walked into his high-pressure office, but he carried with him a priceless asset that no market could value: inner peace. He had solved the great paradox of his life. True wealth isn't about how much money you have, but how much peace you have in your soul. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more content that explores what it truly means to live a rich life. See you in the next one.